a minute to everybody, maybe like 10 seconds, and then we can.
All right, we are live. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for tuning into the Vulcan Soapbox. We got a nice panel today for you. It's going to cover some good topics and give our perspective. Feel free to chime in, ask questions, maybe join the show. We're ready to get started, y'all. We're ready to serve the people. Let's go.
All right, so we're going to get right into it. The first topic, actually, we're going to talk about black athletes being slaves. I think the first time I heard this term was it was a book written by William C. Roden. He actually wrote the book called $40 Million Slaves. And I'll go ahead and play a video today and get y'all thoughts on that. All right, here we go. Yeah, I see it. All right, just mute your background. Vulcan, mute your background.
If you are an athlete, the way in which your worth is determined is identical to the way in which the worth of an enslaved African was determined. It was your output, your strength, how fast you could work. You look at the NFL combine, you look at the NBA workouts, it's nothing but a slave plantation. The only difference is you're being paid money. But the power differential between the slave and the slave master, and the power differential between the NBA player and the NBA owner, or the NFL player and the NFL owner, is the exact same as the power differential between the slave and his master. The only difference is they are given money that allows them to live a comfortable life outside of the plantation. But beyond that, it is the same thing as slavery. If you are
let me try to play that again, y'all.
If you are an athlete, the way in which your worth is determined is identical to the way in which the worth of an enslaved African was determined. It was your output, your strength, how fast you could work. You look at the NFL combine, you look at the NBA workouts, it's nothing but a slave plantation. The only difference is you're being paid money. But the power differential between the slave and the slave master, and the power differential between the NBA player and the NBA owner, or the NFL player and the NFL owner, is the exact same as the power differential between the slave and his master. The only difference is they are given money that allows them to live a comfortable life outside of the plantation. But beyond that, it is the same thing as slavery. If you are...
All right. So questions. Somebody come in as Vulcan. All right. All right, y'all. Make sure I can hear everybody.
Who gonna take off?
Yeah, I want to know, do y'all agree with this video?
Do I agree with the video?
Yeah,
well, go ahead. Y'all, somebody else.
We're gonna start with your perspective. We're gonna go around. So perspective and fresh.
Right. Yeah. Do I agree with the video? I do agree with the video, but I agree with the video from this perspective. He's not saying anything that's like out of the ordinary. If I go to work at my job, I'm a slave to them. I'm doing their work, and they're reaping most of the benefits. It's just a lot of us. So in the NBA, it's not so many people, and they're just able to run a business with less employees in a sense. So it's like, and still accrue like a lot of money. So a difference between like working for Spectrum, like I work, there's hundreds of thousands of employees all doing the quote unquote slave work. But it's just how you look at it. But if you work for somebody, you're somewhat, doing their work for
them. Okay. All right. So yeah, you say you agree. Let's go with fresh just to see if you agree or not, and then we're gonna go to Vulcan. Then you can explain after Vulcan's answer. Fresh.
No, I don't agree.
You don't agree? All right, Vulcan. You on mute?
Yeah, I don't agree.
You don't agree? All right. So Perspective already explained why he agreed. So let's Let's go with Fresh. Why you disagree?
I mean, it's really an outlandish like comment or statement or perspective to have. There's so many differences between the modern athlete and the freedom that they have. So correlating between slavery is really a massive reach. There's no negotiation in slavery. There's no freedom. And when he says something kind of offhanded as if it's insignificant, like they just give them money so they can afford to live a nice lifestyle off of their plantation, at that point, you're already talking about something that's not even really slavery at that point. Like if you lived off the plantation, you had your own money, even in slavery times as a black man, you weren't even considered a slave for the most part. Like what slave was making money from their own craft, from their own skill set, and allowed to live off of the plantation comfortably. That was still somehow considered a slave. Like it's a massive reach. There's no negotiation. There's no strike. Uh, it's not. It's a reach. There's too many differences, distinguishable differences. The NBA, regardless of who owns the team, the stars are the athletes themselves. They're able to operate and negotiate deals outside of the NBA based on their skill set, based on their personality, based on their brand. Whereas when you were in slavery times, even if you had a star slave, nobody was looking at the slave as the person who was the highest who was the most recognizable. No one, he was like, oh, that guy over there has an amazing slave. Now, this may be the thought process in some circles, but when you're talking about widespread perspective on athletes, no one's looking at the owner as a guy who's a superstar because he put together this amazing team.
Then ask, all right, Vulcan, you want to explain why you disagree? You on mute?
He's using the word slave in a dishonest way. That's not what the word slave means. You know, even if you want to go back to chattel slavery, there were slaves, there were hired hands, and they didn't live the same lifestyle. So for somebody to call a slave somebody who gets paid very handsomely to do a skill, that's an insult to our ancestors.
Wow. You got a rebuttal for that perspective? Because I know you said you agree.
So when I used the term, when I said slave, I was thinking, I was thinking the definition of just to work hard for somebody else. So that's what I so I still stand on what I'm saying. Like James said, he's using the word slave in whatever sense. I'm using the word slave as in you're working for someone else because you're not the business owner.
Oh, so in that case, we're all slaves.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Exactly. We don't have any freedom. I can't just show up at my job and whatever clothes I want, I have to do what they tell me.
Go ahead, Fresh.
I think when we talk about slavery, like one of the main components of slavery was lack of choice. Is not if you don't work or do what I tell you, you just don't get to eat that day. If you don't work, I'm gonna beat the skin off of your back. Slavery is, I want to say, in the definition of slavery or slave, it's a person who's like forced to work against their will. So you can call in to work. You can quit your job. You can not go into work and still find another job. And what you suffer is based on your choice. But an NBA athlete, they sit out games. They do all sorts of things that don't align with the concept of slavery, like at all. They have so many freedoms that it's ridiculous. Now, am I saying? And so, to Perspective's point, we're all slaves, but I think we're all slaves to somebody. If that's the case, even the owners have someone to answer to.
I agree.
colder. So that's kind of a cyclical argument if we're talking about the dynamic between slaves and slave owners. If in this dynamic that we're talking about, the slave owners are also slaves.
Because they're answering to somebody else.
Correct.
You want to add to that, Vulcan?
I don't know if I really have much to add. I mean, because there's two questions on the table. There's one, what we all define as slavery, which may vary person to person to some degree. And then there's what Dr. Umar meant by a slave. And one of his quotes, it was breaking up when I was listening to it, but I've heard it before. And one of the things he was saying was the difference between a slave and the owner in chattel slavery is the distance between those two is the same as the basketball player, NFL player, and the owner of the football team. Now that's outlandish to the extreme.
I agree.
I mean, LeBron's a billionaire. A lot of these NBA players, especially these contracts now, but even if you go back to Charles Barkley days, inflation wasn't what it is today. These guys are still making in the top 1% of the world. Heck, all of us on here making in the top 1% of the world. If you're making, I think, above 35,000 or something like that, you're making the top 1% income in the world. So we're saying the top 1% of the world slaves. Then what is the bottom, 90%? You know what I'm saying? Like, this gets silly. It's robbing words of their true meaning. And it's a way to stir us up emotionally. That's his tactic, to stir us up emotionally. There's just no way that you can call an NBA player, NFL player a slave. It's not the definition. They're not being forced to do that. They can leave it when they feel like it. A lot of these people, sorry, I want to go to that point. They don't have to do it if they don't want to do the job, which is not how slavery works. They're getting paid, which is not how slavery works. And they're getting paid very, very well, better than everybody else.
Better than everybody.
The difference between
slaves don't get paid. You don't get paid for being a slave. So
you're getting paid better than a high percentage of white people.
I want to let's read some of the comments from Jessica. Jessica Alexander said, "Good evening. Help the Bear." Shout out to Help the Bear. It said, "Fellas, what's up?"
What up, though?
Jessica Alexander said, I think we need to have a concise definition of what he means by slave. What does Umar mean by slave?"
Call Umar and ask him.
All right, look. So let's pivot. Let me ask y'all: is there a word that fits better than slave? Let's start with Vulcan and work our way to fresh and then perspective.
For Dr. Umar's point, I would say no. He has to use the word slave to provoke us emotionally. Anytime you bring up slavery to African American people and people in general, not even just African American people, it gets us in our emotions. It gets us stirred up. It gets us to give less of a benefit of the doubt to things that we're being exposed to. And it's perfect for what he's trying to get across. You want to bring down the people. A lot of these people haven't given him money for his school. A lot of these millionaires didn't give money for his school. He's probably not happy about that. We'll bring these guys down. Now, there are other intellectuals who advance a similar idea, and I get it if we just kind of take a step back and look at the fact that, the slaves, they had they wanted the biggest and the strongest slaves because they could do the hardest work. What is sports? Sports is getting the biggest and the strongest people to do this work. So there is some parallel. But to say that that's slavery, that's going too far. Just because a fork in a car maybe made of the same material doesn't make the fork the car the fork. In the same way. And in the same way, we can do the same thing with this word slavery that is used. So I don't think there's another word that would fit for what he's saying because he needs the slave word for us to even care what he's talking about.
Okay. Perspective? Want to share any thoughts?
I don't have no other word other than I guess if he's so to James's point, I never got emotional about it as far as like, oh yeah, it's just like slavery. Like I didn't think about it like that. I thought like, okay, I guess they're not the master, but they kind of have to do what they say. They say show up to this press conference. You got to show up. You got to be here. You got to do that.
What
but they
Antonio
can't.
Brown?
Well, yeah, you get kicked out.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, you can't get kicked out of slavery. So, yeah, I don't agree with him. I retract. I don't agree with him because you can't get kicked out of slavery. Like, you don't have to be in the NBA. You can just quit. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't quit being a slave. You was out of there.
Okay.
And a lot of times,
So
quit.
I was wrong. I was
pick you
wrong.
up.
I disagree.
Yeah, another people pick you up.
Being in the top 1% of athletes in the world is a privilege. I've never heard anybody refer to slavery as a privilege, even on the best plantation.
But I would still hold to the fact that if you go to work,
That would mean
you are kind of a slave to somebody else.
Well, Vulcan, it was cutting in and out.
All of
the audio
that
shot.
would mean all of us. Can y'all hear me pretty good? Is it coming in yet?
Yeah,
that would
go
mean
ahead.
all of us young black kids growing up wanted to be a slave. Let's keep it real.
Right.
Wow.
We was working hard to become slaves.
Wow.
Yeah. For free, working hard for free to become a paid slave.
Nice, James.
Well,
Fresh,
you want to add something to it as far as another word we could use instead of slave?
So there's the more accurate word is like subcontractor, but the closest word to get to the word that's as close as you can get from an emotional outburst, or not an emotional outburst, excuse me, an emotional reaction is employee. That's the closest you can get to what Dr. Umar was trying to communicate with that statement. But it's really subcontract. Those dudes are offering their services per contract. Once that contract is over, they have the freedom. We've used freedom so many times in so many different ways during this conversation that it's so implausible to keep talking about these people in terms of slavery. It's such a weird concept. It's a super
You know what I think, Freshly? I think you don't see it. You're kind of like I did. You don't see it like as an emotional outburst. So I think that's why you come up with the subcontract.
Well, yeah, because that's close. That's the
what do you think about that?
Is, but I understand that Dr. Umar, like Vulcan was saying, is trying to evoke an emotional response from the masses, the bandwagoners, if you will, the folks that are looking for an excuse to be mad. Instead of
I didn't even think about that at all like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he again, there's so many different like trigger words and things like that can be used to kind of rile up the general public, which is kind of where we come at with this show is offering tools to recognize fallacious statements and statements that are not completely true, intellectuals who pass themselves off as such but are acting dishonestly, which is we've called Dr. Umar out on this before, where he's doing the same thing he's doing right now. Let me rile somebody up so they can support my idea or my perspective. But in reality, it's cap.
Nice, Freshly. Nicely put, man.
Well, let me ask you this: why is this narrative so popular then? Perspective, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think it's like they're saying, it stirs the pot. So anything that stirs the pot is going to catch people's eye. You're going to have it's like having an antagonist and a protagonist. You're going to say something that's going to rile everybody up, and then since they're riled up, other people are going to respond. You're going to have both sides of it that brings entertainment. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So either way, he's going to bring value to it.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Presley?
I agree with that. I agree with that perspective. I think to add on to it, I think it's really buried in an innate jealousy that is festering in our community and has been for a long time. And the reason I say that is because most people are listening to this and be like, I'm not jealous of LeBron, but really it's a displeasure with where you are in life, what you can and can't do, the amount of freedom that you have. Because if any one of these people who support this were to win the lottery and be able to have as much freedom as a LeBron James or Michael Jordan does, they would
Mm-hmm.
not see that. They wouldn't see that as slavery. They
Yeah.
be the same places doing the same types of things, living the same types of lifestyles with the same freedom that these professional athletes have. The problem is that these professional athletes have a gift that they don't have, therefore they're able to live a better lifestyle. So it's kind of an underlying jealousy. Like, man, if I have to find something that's wrong with him, I'm gonna call him a slave. But if LeBron James is a slave, and every last one of us is slaves, to call back to what you said earlier, perspective, which
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of, you know,
in these
I get.
slavery days, you're looking at the top slave, right? The guy who gets the women, who gets the cold beer if he's a prize fighter, or he works the hardest, or he gets to go inside the house. If you look at that dynamic between the field slave and the house slave, even then it was hate.
Yeah.
As if all slaves. Oh, this house slave thinks he's better than us. He better than us because he light skinned. Like, no, he's still a slave. He's still a slave, just like you.
Yeah, facts. I dig it. Yeah, man. I think I really didn't look at it as an attempt to stir the pot. I guess because it didn't stir my pot at all. I didn't even have that perspective when I listened to it.
You being a user of logic and reason, it's not. You're above that.
Yeah, I guess, man. I didn't even, but I do want to. I do want to be able to recognize when somebody's doing that, though. I guess I didn't even see it from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we're doing right now is pretty much how you recognize it when you look at it through the lens of logic and reason. If it doesn't make sense, you now start looking for what the motives are. Why would you say something that doesn't make sense? Why would you say something?
Yeah, nice. Okay. Nice.
Sorry.
Reason behind it.
Sorry, but they have some technical difficulties, and I know that Vulcan's also have some. So let me read some comments too. Jessica Alexander said hi, and then she also said it's proactive. It gets the people going. I don't know the movie. Hi.
It's called Blaze of Glory with Will Ferrell. All right. The
You heard
classic.
that, Jessica? Say it again, fresh.
It's Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell.
Okay, all right. So she also said it's such a old narrative.
That.
Yeah. All right. I think we can move on. Let's do another direction.
Not the great Kevin Gates. Start car batteries with his hands.
Yes, sir. First, I wanna.
He does what? He didn't say that, did he?
Yeah, he definitely did say that. There's like a famous interview that goes around where he's basically talking about how blessed he is and all that good stuff. And he said, because he talks in like parables sometimes. Is real weird, considering the other side of what he sees to the world. But he basically said that this lady had stopped on the side of the road, and he does this little thing with his hands and then he put them on the battery and it starts up.
Yeah, he said he had the energy, the frequency. So that's a perfect segue. So let's see what he's talking about.
You gonna know energy doesn't lie. You gonna know energy doesn't lie. Wow, language is primitive. Cause see, somebody that talk good to you and trick your mind. Yeah. That's why I say suspect evil of no one until see it. Once see it, forget it not. For once an enemy could never be a friend. Big Sam told me when they painted you a picture, don't let them paint you another picture.
Kevin Gates.
You could talk good as a bitch and trick my mind.
Yeah.
Now I'm back believing in you again. But you already showed me that you wasn't my friend, so we reward loyalty with loyalty, and we reward disloyalty with distance. I forgive you, but I ain't about to forget and be naive. That's unintelligent.
He's doing exactly what he's saying.
You gonna know, is it?
Job perspective, absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. I've never seen this.
Hey, if I didn't know no better, I'd say that man was from Harlem. He said a whole bunch of nothing.
Bruh, he said a whole bunch of nothing. I was gonna say watch it again, but I was like, I don't even want to watch it.
We can. Let's do that. Let's do that because Vulcan is back on. Let's just play that video, and then we can really get it.
Vulcan looked like interviewed by the police.
Let's do it one more time, y'all.
You gonna know energy doesn't lie. Wow, language is primitive. Cause see, somebody that talk good to you and trick your mind. That's why I say suspect evil of no one until see it. Once see it, forget it not. For once an enemy could never be a friend. Big Sam, when they painted you a picture, don't let them paint you another picture. Kevin, a bitch and trick my mind. Yeah. Now I'm back believing in you again. But you already showed me that you wasn't my friend, so we reward loyalty with loyalty, and we reward disloyalty with distance. I forgive you, but I ain't about to forget and be naive. That's unintelligent.
All right, let's go around again. So just answer if you agree or disagree. We're gonna start with Vulcan, then Fresh, and then Perspective. Vulcan, do you agree or disagree?
Disagree.
You disagree? Vulcan said disagree. Fresh?
I disagree.
Fresh
It's
disagree.
unanimous.
Perspective?
It's unanimous.
Okay. So hold on before we get into the whys. I want to read some of the comments. Says Kevin help the bear say Kevin Gates invented the light bulb. No doubt. Let him tell it. He also said Kevin Gates rap good, but he ain't lied yet. All right, so let's get back to Vulcan. All right, you said anonymous. Let's just start with you. Perspective. Explain why you said anonymous.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know what the man was saying. He was talking saying a whole bunch of nothing, trying to mislead me.
That's good. That's good.
He's trying to say a whole bunch of nothing. As he's talking, I'm like, bro, you're doing that right now.
All right, one more comments before I get to Fresh. Jessica Alexander said, I believe I'm energy. Oh, I believe in energy. Okay. All right, so Fresh, why you disagree?
I mean, just there's too many things he said that don't make sense. That don't have any sense. I would need context before I could really have an intelligible conversation about what he said. Language is primitive.
Yeah, I gotta have it written down. Like I would have to see it. Like he lost me so many times. I couldn't even.
None of the stuff that he said attaches to anything else. You let him paint another picture of you. What does that mean, bro? What's the context?
I think he's trying to say about that. I think he's trying to say if a person shows you who they are. Yeah, that's what I think he's trying to say. But that has nothing to do with anything else.
It also notes that people can't change when people change every day. Now, is it hard for people to change? Absolutely. People change. Typically, they don't change fundamentally unless they go through a life-changing trauma of some sort. But people do change. People grow up. People evolve. Yeah. So it's I won't say it's dumb, but it's a very low-level way of thinking. If I'm being 100% honest, it's a paranoid way of thinking that I feel like he probably carried over from the street.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It makes me think about what that dude who had that thing going around is like, shit. When I run into somebody I ain't seen in a couple years, shit, he gonna have to re-meet me. I ain't Buddy no more. Shit, I don't even like Buddy. But basically, he's saying, like, I didn't like that dude I was before either. You know what I'm saying? That picture I painted for you 2 years ago ain't the person I am today.
Exactly.
All right, so before we get Vulcan to explain why, I'm going to read some more comments. That state prison talk from Help the Bear. That sound good, but it don't mean nothing. Jessica Alexander said, it's about intention. Okay. All right, Vulcan.
Big Vulcan, not the little one.
So for me, I'm just gonna go step by step of what he said. He said energy doesn't lie. Now I would agree energy doesn't lie, but that's not what he means by what he's saying. And my issue with that type of thinking is people tend to trust their intuition. And so they got with this thing. I was just having this conversation earlier with some coworkers. And the thing is people tend to have a feeling about something or intuition about something. And what they mean by that is I trust my intuition. in their world, their intuition is pretty much infallible. That to me is dangerous.
Really?
Even though energy doesn't lie, if I even take his definition of energy, which is not the standard definition of energy, energy is like the strength or to get work accomplished. Like I may not have the energy to walk across the room if I'm too sick, right? That's what energy typically means. Now, there's other definitions that are a little bit more detailed in physics and stuff like that, but generally speaking, the way Kevin Gates is using it is not what energy means. But even if I were to grant him that definition for the moment, energy may not lie, but I still have to interpret it. My interpretation of the energy that's being emanated in my direction is fallible. I can misread body language. Well, sorry, I won't go that far. I can misread that energy. But what I would argue, that energy that he's talking about, and that people, when they think that I get a feeling off somebody, I'm really good at my discernment, I'm really good at, interpreting what's happening based off the energy that I get and my intuition. What they're really saying is that what they're really doing is reading body language, mannerisms, continence, tonality, gestures, postures. That's what they're really reading. And they're calling it energy. But if you're already a certain age, you've already developed a skill, and everybody's at the same level, but a good enough skill to be able to read people. It's how we survive. And we're really reading those things, whether we realize it or not, and we're calling it energy. So then the next point he makes about language. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but I was gonna say any good mentalist can fake and manufacture energy in a way where people think that there's something mystical going on or something otherworldly going on. Even if you're talking about something something like discernment is usually attached to a higher power, a higher infallible power. If you're attaching reading energy to your own intuition, typically people tend to forget the times where their intuition is wrong. I never really hear folks talk about that. So it can't be infallible. It can't be a perfect science if it's wrong.
Yeah, but then he said language is primitive. If language is primitive, then why is it that the most primitive species have less language and less ability to communicate amongst each other? And the more intelligent species on this earth, like killer whales and dolphins and different types of apes, have more sophisticated languages. Why does it seem like the bigger the brain, the more advanced the brain gets, the more sophisticated the language, if language is primitive? Math is a language. Music is a language.
I feel like you put more energy into decoding that nonsense than was necessary.
But he's able to look at it. He's looking at it right now. You have to be looking at it. There's no way you remembered him saying this.
Good question, Mike.
Oh, I was on mute the whole time. Yeah, is this more substance or fluff? I think we all could agree it's probably fluff, right?
Yeah. We all
Yeah, fluff. We can go to the next thing.
establish.
Yeah, but we actually it's rooted in our culture. If you don't say energy, another word that's synonymous with energy is vibes.
I want to ask y'all something. When he said energy doesn't lie,
Jessica, about attention. I would be interested in sitting down with a Kevin Gates and saying, what does that mean? Like having him really dig into it so we could put it into plain language and then decode what he's saying from the perspective of a common language, something that everyone understands. Because right now he's talking in riddles. He's doing it on purpose. But I would be interested in seeing if we could get some truth out of him if we were to.
It's borderline demonic. It's kind of borderline demonic.
You said what?
I said it's borderline demonic. How he's talking and doing exactly what he's saying. that people are gonna do to you. People are gonna say a whole bunch of nothing.
What makes it demonic?
I was just kind of talking shit.
Oh, I thought you had something to elaborate a little bit more. Let me read some more comments. They got to be a vibe. I got off energy. LOL. Help the bear. Help the bear says fluff. He answered. Help the bear said fresh. You will never know. He will keep doing the same thing until someone gives up.
Hey, she had said it's all about the vibe. I go off energy.
Jessica, in the comments, do you want to join? She says she believes in energy. Do you want to join? Just you have the link. You can join if you want to chime in on this conversation. All right. So, yeah, that's the Kevin Gates. Let's just go off to. Let's play another one.
I ain't gonna lie, man. We should have postponed this, man. Because I got it. This shit. That's crazy.
All right, get y'all thoughts on this. Everybody.
Yeah, man, y'all interrupting Perspective Punk, man.
All right. Get y'all thoughts on this video.
Your daddy was wild. You a fucking rapper, like you said, nigga. Dead homies, you a rapper, nigga. Act like it, nigga. Them buffs is cool. Being from Detroit is cool. You from a street place. You're of street essence. Everybody on the block is from the street. Even the little nigga sitting on the porch that's just watching the niggas trap. Technically, he from the block. Even a nigga that's just walking down the street going to school. Technically, he from the block because he live here. You just a nigga that was on the block. Act like that, my nigga, for real. Y'all niggas is weirdos talking all this because you got shot, da-da-da. You would have died, dummy. You would have died. You don't even know how to act in them type of situations. Oh, nigga, from this side, let me go that way. Oh, you don't know. You don't got them type of instincts at all. Have no fucking shots fly at you, nigga. You dumb, nigga. Niggas tried to kill me, nigga. Fuck is you talking about? Niggas tried to kill me and I got a zipper forever, nigga. Fuck is you talking? You sound stupid. Real niggas don't even play like that. I don't even talk about niggas. You know, I don't even talk about niggas getting shot. I would never talk about niggas getting shot. You're fucking dweeb, nigga.
I want to give some context real quick.
All right.
So that was, I'm sure y'all know it's Surf Calicoe. But so Calicoe had said before that they were kind of going back and forth. And Calicoe was basically clowning him for getting shot. Like, nigga, them niggas shot you. He said something funny. So then that's why the energy was, that's why he was so live. That's why he had so much animosity in his tone. He was upset that Calicoe was basically clowning them for getting shot.
Well, let's go ahead and start with you then. Let's
What do you want?
do you think he's raising a good point?
Is he raising a good point? That's not anything he's talking about is nothing to brag about. It's not brag worthy. Like being able to survive in that environment and know how to act and brag about being from the block, that's just gonna do nothing but just keep us down. Never give. It's just another nigga giving it. And I like Surf. Don't get it twisted. I like Surf. He's a great battle rapper. He's my favorite. But his mindset is keeps us down. Keep everybody never able to elevate their mind and elevate their thinking because it's more. It's so deep rooted that it's like disgusting. Like he's bragging about knowing how to deal with getting shot, or you know what I'm saying? But that's his life, you know what I'm saying? So I get it, you know what I'm saying? I understand it, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So you say yes or no? You got to
yes or no to what?
If he's raising a good point.
No.
No. All right. Let's get to fresh.
Within that context, yes.
In the context saying yes, okay. So you say yes. Let's get to Vulcan, then we'll come back to fresh because then perspective already explained. Vulcan.
Yeah, I would say his point in this escalation of force that they're doing in that particular culture, he is making a good point. That's something that they value in that culture. But ultimately, for the world and the black community and stuff, no, it's not a good point. It's just reinforcing everything that's wrong with our community as it is.
Okay. Matter of fact, before Fresh, we got all right. Fresh, go ahead and finish and give your reasons why he's making a good point.
So, like I said, within that context, similar to what Vulcan said, this is battle rap, but also a larger culture of street culture. They value those things. Now, I'm gonna quote my man Lux and say both of these gentlemen up here on this podium are lost niggas. But the point that he's making within that context is he's trying to say that Calicoe, whose father was associated with BMF, the BMF, they got a show and everything right now, that his father was a wild nigga, that Calicoe is just a guy who benefits from the reputation of his father, so he's really not outside in the field like Tsu Surf himself is. So he's essentially faking the funk as when he comports himself as
Calicoe doesn't claim to be a street nigga though.
That's definitely not true. Have you heard him rap?
Yeah, he don't ever. Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Good. I've watched all Calicoe's battle. He don't ever claim to be a nigga from the streets and putting in work and killing niggas or nothing ever.
Man, in Detroit, we ride with it on our laps. Calicoe in the back.
He does have a pistol.
This is my point. When you comport yourself like that, when you carry yourself like that, to what I would consider a civilian, that makes you a street nigga. But it makes you a poser to really feel like they out in the field. And again, I'm gonna say that they're all lost niggas. They're all street niggas. And that mentality is what's wrong with the culture, because I cannot understand outside of that context how he would feel that would make any sense to basically clown somebody for not getting shot, for not knowing what to do in the scenario where they were getting shot. Who wants to be shot? Yeah. I don't want to know what I would do if I had to get shot, because I shouldn't be nowhere doing anything that would require me to get shot. But this culture loves that type of stuff, which is why that battle, that interaction has so many views. So many people who are living that lifestyle really put it up on a pedestal. But in this context, he's essentially calling Calicoe a poser, which in that context I agree with. Now, I don't know Calicoe's personal life, but I'm listening to them rap. I know a little bit of the history. I've done a little bit of research, as I am a fan of battle rap. And Calicoe is not as thorough, if you will, or quote unquote a real nigga, the way that Tsu Surf is. And if Tsu Surf is calling out that difference, then he is making a solid point within that context.
Okay, and I want to say this. I don't think he's trying to make a point. That's why I given the context prior, is because he was defending basically the jokes. So he was basically letting Calicoe know, nigga, you wouldn't have known what to do in this situation. You know what I'm saying? You're not. So he said all that stuff about him to point out the fact that his end point, that he wouldn't know what to do in that situation. So he was basically clowning him for not being able to do what he did in that situation and why he wouldn't be able to execute it like he did. But
yeah, he wouldn't be able to, because he's not a real street nigga. Basically.
Yeah, I agree. I never looked at Calicoe as that
type. But didn't he end up getting shot? If he ended up getting shot, then I don't see the difference. I mean, if he would have escaped the shooting, I can see that being a point to brag about.
That depends. If you were really in the field, it's kind of an expectation that you get shot at some point, and you need to know what to do. Listen, I knew about holding pressure on wounds before I became a medic. I knew how to splint stuff before I became a medic. Or what I guess you consider an OG when I was a little bumper nickel in the street. So that's neither here nor there. But when you live that lifestyle, there's an expectation that type of stuff happens to you. You're not going around thinking you're not going to get shot. You're going around knowing it's pretty much going to happen at some point in time. So you need to know what to do in that scenario.
I'm just wondering who would know what to do. Our dads who are in the military, even if they grew up in the suburbs, or some dude that's quote unquote street.
Wait, say it again. I didn't hit it. I didn't understand the last part.
I'm just curious who would know what to do. A guy who is quote unquote street, or a guy who was in the military. Who has a higher know what to do in those situations?
I honestly would say who would know what to do or who would be able to do it. And I'll say this.
Well, I'm going off what he said about knowing what to do in certain situations. I don't. If he's saying like knowing how to duck, knowing how to recognize danger, knowing what's the best angle to escape from, knowing what's the best angle to get shot from, knowing how to hold a gun. I mean, I don't know what he means when he's saying like to do in those situations, but I'm assuming that's all you really can do in those dangerous situations is the art of war. Right,
but that's a diminishing skill, meaning I would bet money that there's active street niggas who would do better in a scenario than somebody who was just in the military.
But I'm saying percentage wise, like if you get 100 guys from quote unquote streets and 100 guys from the military, who do you think has a higher percentage chance of knowing what to do? If you had to pick somebody to save your life and know what to do, who are you picking?
To save your life or to save their life?
You don't know who they're going to be. You just know you're picking a random person out of 100 on both sides.
Right, but what I'm saying, to save their life or to save your life?
Your life.
Oh, military.
So that's what I'm saying. The street guy thing doesn't seem that significant to me because it's not even giving you a higher percentage than the regular guy who joins the military and is going through basic training and the training they do. So I don't see the significance of the street guy part when they don't go through really any real training.
What I'm to you is from a performance perspective. If I'm a street guy and if I'm an active street guy and I'm outside every day, these are tenets that I keep fresh. If I'm a guy in the military and I'm out of the military, or if I'm a guy who does paperwork in the military, that's like very far from the forefront of my mind. I don't think about that every day. I don't keep those tenets. Do I know how to do them? If you give me a test and I have a little time to study, for sure. But just the average military guy who folds towels at the gym on base, I wouldn't bet my money on him from a performance perspective over a street guy who knew what to do and to keep stuff at the forefront of his mind, because he's literally outside in an area where he can get shot. Now, this I know because when they teach us stuff in the military in basic training, they refresh us before we get deployed. Right. They bring that stuff back to the forefront of our mind. Hey, remember, this is what you do in this scenario if you get in this scenario. But once you're deployed, they don't refresh you on that stuff. They don't keep you up to date on that stuff. And unless you're just a hyper-vigilant individual, you're not thinking about that in your day-to-day. Whereas somebody who is selling drugs on the corner, fighting rival gangs and enemy territory, whatever you want to call it, that's something that they have. It's a skill that they have to keep fresh.
Definitely. Want to introduce Jessica to the platform. How you doing? Welcome to Vulcan Soapbox. You're on mute. You're muted. Your microphone is muted. All right. You want to add chime into what we're talking about right now? Oh, it's still muted. All right, let me read the comments. It says, talk that street talk freshly. Yeah, let me know down that hill. Hilarious.
No glorification, just education at this point. I'm not glorified. They still both lost niggas.
Help the Bear said the only thing you can do is let go and let God. Okay. All right. So we bring you back on, Jessica, when you're able to speak. Right now, you're still muted. All right. Let's go on to the next topic. All right. Get y'all thoughts on this.
A lot of what made me definitely was from the relationship I had with my mom. The first major relationship that I have regarding my interactions with women was fucked up. My teacher was up. This is not to say my mom didn't try. This ain't to say my mom didn't outright do her thing at times. But it's not even about raising a man. We set the bar for parenthood at participation. We hand out "you tried" trophies. To be quite frank, hey, I'm saying this as a former educator and everything, bruh. Like you being there doesn't make you a good parent. It doesn't. So while this is not exclusive to women, hell yeah, we need to start talking about how parents are f***ing kids up, and that keeps creating more generations of f***ed up people.
All right, since we got new guests, we're gonna play the video again for the guest that just came on.
The relationship I had with my mom definitely was from the relationship I had with my mom. The first major relationship that I have regarding my interactions with women was f***ed up. My teacher was f***ed up. This is not to say my mom didn't try. This ain't to say my mom didn't outright do her thing at times. But it's not even about raising a man. We set the bar for parenthood at participation. We hand out "you tried" trophies for parents. To be quite frank, hey, I don't give. I'm saying this as a former educator and everything, bruh. Like you being there doesn't make you a good parent. It doesn't. So while this is not exclusive to women, hell yeah, we need to start talking about how parents are f***ing kids up, and that keeps creating more generations of f***ed up people.
All right, so we got guests. I'm gonna start off with what's up, Ruck? What's up? Let's start off with you, man, and then we're gonna go to Jessica, and then Vulcan. So, Ruck, do you agree with the video? You muted.
So let me kind of see if I can pick up on the context clues piece, because how I chimed in and trying to get myself set up and split, and as well as muting the mic so my background will be muted as well. Let me kind of catch and see what I can kind of pick from the context clues and then go from there. I caught bits and pieces of it, but I don't know how far behind I was in the video when it actually started, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So let's let me play it again, and then so everybody be on the same page.
A lot of what made me definitely was from the relationship I had with my mom. The first major relationship that I have, a lot of what made me definitely was from the relationship I had with my mom. The first major relationship that I have regarding my interactions with women was f***ed up. My teacher was f***ed up. This is not to say my mom didn't try. This ain't to say my mom didn't outright do her thing at times. But it's not even about raising a man. We set the bar for parenthood at participation. We hand out "you tried" trophies for parents. To be quite frank, hey, I don't give. I'm saying this as a former educator and everything, bruh. Like you being there doesn't make you a good parent. It doesn't. So while this is not exclusive to women, hell yeah, we need to start talking about how parents are f***ing kids up, and that keeps creating more generations of f***ed up people.
All right, I'm gonna start off with Jessica. Get your thoughts on it. Do you agree? I can't hear you. All right, so let's go with Vulcan. You muted.
Do I agree with, some of the points I agree with. The initial points when it comes to blaming things on your upbringing or saying that your first interactions with your mom and that impacts your relationship with other women, that's one of those things where it's speculation. How would you confirm or disconfirm that point? I know it's very common. People say it all the time. So I'm aware of how popular it is and how it seems to make sense to our intuitions. I get that part. But I guess my question is, how can you prove that my behavior towards the opposite sex is linked to how I interacted with my mother or my sister?
Okay. And Rucker, you got anything on that? Do you agree?
I saw to a certain degree. I know absentee of parents. So if he's saying depending straight on a single parent household, they're not gonna do it. What's happening, and I know I'm a product of it, and I think about the age, and I tell a lot of people this. I think James, when I first met James, so James, like, I had to start nipping shit and checking myself at the age of 25. Okay, for me to be the person that I am today at 43. Okay, reason being, single parent, coming up under my mom, my first wife. Hey, I and James would be like, oh yeah, man, I salute that because I have to take the responsibility for the actions that I caused in that particular marriage. Meaning that me coming straight out of high school and doing my thing, starting to have kids, kind of starting life early on versus kind of being the later parent, the parent later in life. I was a parent at the age of 17. You see what I'm saying? So starting off early, some of the stuff that I've got strictly from my mom in regards to, okay, well, when she would get ticked off, she gonna go all the way in, right? Well, that's what I brought into my first relationship, my first serious. Like, I thought I was a man, whatever, in high school when you have, okay, well, I got a little serious relationship here, a little serious relationship here. But we talking about full-fledged, you got kids, you're living up on your own at the age of 17, trying to still find life, still doing things as a kid, but as well as an adult. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
because
a total struggle to try to balance that and come and steal from up under mom and what she's taught. Because from her emotional standpoint, when she got upset, that's what she did. She wrapped in her emotions. Versus if there was a dad there, while my mom was going through her emotions, some of the things that she was saying and doing, present father would have been like, hey, no, you don't talk to him like this. You don't do that because this is what I brought into my first marriage. Bitch.
Facebook. Watch this.
Hey,
Facebook. But you got some background noise. I did. You said you agree. No, you disagree because you say you still got to take responsibility for your own actions, right? That was,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna move on to. We're gonna come right back to you, Rucker, because we got another question after this. Jessica, you wanna? Do you agree with the video? I can't hear you. Okay. There's something.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
All right. So you was able to watch the video, right?
Yeah, I listened to it. But I was so focused on you guys hearing me, I didn't get a chance to process and think about it. So next one.
All right, we can come back. Vulcan, you got anything on it? Let me read some of the comments. Why? Because Vulcan, you're on mute. Fresh, shout out to Run Your Mouth Fresh, said at what point does that stop being an excuse for poor behavior? This is what Rucker was talking about. When does the self-accountability begins? Nick Doe, shout out to Nick Doe, just says good content. All right.
I think I'm ready.
Say again?
So I think I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
So to address the last question, when does accountability begin? Are we referring to the kid, right?
Yes, the person that's raised. He said he had in the video. He said he had his first relations with women were his mom and his teacher.
Right.
It was messed up, which helped probably perpetuate some of his behavior in the future.
So I think that accountability begins when the person has emotional intelligence. So when when you know that an action is going to hurt someone, whether it's intentional or not, you should think twice about doing it. And that's all I got. It's just that it's when you know right from wrong, you do better. So.
All right. So read comments and I'm gonna get your perspective. Vulcan, early relationships do have a significant impact on early development, but it can be blamed after. It can't be blamed. I'm sorry, it can't be blamed after a certain point in life. All right. Vulcan, you want to share your thoughts on the video? You muted, Vulcan.
The issue with people linking their childhood to their adult behavior or even their adolescent behavior is that there's no way to know for sure that that's what really is the reason why you're acting that way. You know, there's millions of people over in America, just for instance, millions of folks would say just in Texas, and all of us have varying types of relationships with our parents, but we might exhibit some of the same behavior. Somebody has a great mom, and they're a jerk. But there's somebody else that has a horrible mom that's a jerk. And when the one that has the horrible mom that's a jerk goes into counseling, they're gonna say, "Well, my mom was a jerk, and I'm a jerk." And they're like, "Yeah, your mom was a jerk. Now that you recognize that, you got to change it." And the person with a good mom's gonna go into counseling, and they're gonna be like, "Why are you a jerk?" And they're gonna be like, "Well, I'm a jerk because I'm low in empathy." Why won't they think that to the mom too?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that people can make up the reason, right? And how do you prove it? So, like, a good principle of philosophy and science is that predictable models are more useful than models that don't have any predictive capability. So if somebody says, "Hey, you do this way because of your mom," we can't prove it. We can't disprove it. You can't solve it. It's in the past. Why can't it be that we are the way we are because of our behaviors and our thoughts? I want to speak to something that Jessica mentioned earlier as well, is that accountability starts at emotional intelligence. The reason why accountability can't start at emotional intelligence is because of this. People hold you accountable for your actions regardless of the mind state you're in when you do it. If I go rob a bank because my dad was a robber and I go to court, they're not going to be like, "Well, what's your emotional intelligence level, Vulcan?" I would say, "Hey, it's really, really low." They're going to put me in jail. If I say, so accountability, because accountability is people holding you accountable for your actions and behaviors. That starts the moment you enter the world with everybody else. But I'm sure everybody would agree with that, right? Now, we're talking about self-accountability. It might be a little different. Self-accountability may be a little different. If you don't know to do better, then you can't do better. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure exactly which Jessica's talking about, personal accountability or just how the world holds you accountable. So, and then the second part I would just say is when you know better, you do better. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So many of us in our own personal lives, our parents said, "Don't do that," and we did it. Our friends said, "Hey, you better not do that," and we did it. Our teacher said, "Don't do that," and we did it. Just because we know better doesn't necessarily mean we do better. Matter of fact, a lot of times we do the wrong thing because we know it's the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And it feels good to do the wrong thing. You get rewards for doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's always going to be a choice, whether it's based off your childhood, whether it's based off of the fact that you have an incentive to do the wrong thing, the practice of poor behavior. It feels good to unleash on somebody with your rage, regardless of how you were raised, right? We can all agree to that. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't feel good to unleash on somebody with your rage because you're mad. Maybe they did something wrong to you. Maybe you just felt like they did something wrong to you. Maybe you're mistaken and you misinterpret the situation and now you're filled with rage and revenge and you unleash it on them and it felt good. There's a satisfaction with it. We can't say that's linked to your parents.
You want to speak to that, Jessica? You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, I took the content specific to when you say relationships and how they play a part in his romantic relationships. Is that not? Am I the only one? Or and so, well, with that, that's why I say it's accountability comes from emotional intelligence, because you see that your actions are hurting other people, and whether it's intentional or not. And when you see that what you do, how it affects other people, there should be a part of you that says, okay, I need to change and no longer do those things. So that's what I meant by emotional intelligence.
All right. Let me get some of these comments in. Without constant indulgence, without consequences, there isn't change. You can't tell that. You can tell that a child really faced consequences. Parents got to do better. All right. Help the Bear says, shout out to the Vulcan, aka Mr. Bush, inside joke. Shout out. Vulcan spitting bars. Help the Bear. Nick Doja said, it's mind blowing how many people lack accountabilities nowadays. Yeah. Also, you're definitely right with those perspectives, Vulcan. Sir. All right. Rucky, you want to get any? Oh, you say fine? Okay. All right, let's, I think we can, let's try to move on to, well, matter of fact, so let me ask, what's some of the, I'm going to ask Vulcan this. What's some of the pros to what he's talking about as far as his perspective and his first experiences with women? Is there any pros to that?
Well, I think there's definitely pros to evaluating your past and figuring out what may have triggered or enticed you to be a certain way, compelled you to be a certain way. I think there's triggers in that. The latter part of what he mentions when he talks about, I can't recall what he said towards the end of it, but a lot of that stuff I think was pretty accurate. I mean, parents need to be involved as possible. Parents need to be as good of parents as they possibly can. So I think that part's true. Mm-hmm. But so I think that there's pros to that. There's no cons in being a good parent. I will say this: there's different parenting styles. If you go to the Middle East, you go to certain places in the world. We got to remember that we live in a very affluent country where we have a lot of leisure time. When you have a lot of leisure time, you can be like, hey, why did my dad spend more time with me playing baseball? But if you're in a place where people are poor and people have to work 8 days a week, 30 hours a day, you know what I'm saying? What's considered good parenting in that particular culture is going to look different. Dad put a food on the table so we don't starve to death. Dad fighting the other poor person who's trying to take what we have. So that's a good dad in that society. But in American society, if you had a dad who was providing for you, but he didn't throw the baseball with you and go to your game, you might be like, he wasn't a good dad. Mm-hmm. But certain places in the world, they wouldn't even consider that as a factor when it comes to being a good dad. So it's going to be somewhat relative to the culture and what the expectations are going to be. So I'd say that there's pros and cons on that as well. If you have such a high standard for what a father should be, that's outside of what historically a father should be. You could be placing too high of a standard on that dad that he can't meet. Hmm. What is the purpose of a dad? What is the purpose of a mom? These are things that we have to ask. Hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's then we move on to another topic. All right, so for this topic, this topic is public schools. Is a quote from Dick Gregory. Public schools is a violation of the human spirit. I'm gonna get y'all thoughts. I'm gonna play a video from him, and then I'm gonna get y'all thoughts from this clip.
Of the human school is a violation of the human spirit. School is a violation of the human spirit. You were not meant to sit in a box and be quiet and be still. And children know that. So they move. That's a violation to do that in school. All of us in this room right now, we can leave here and walk to California. I don't care what kind of medicine you're on. I don't care what kind of condition you're in. The secret is you have to do it at your own pace. The problem is when I'm doing it at somebody else's pace. You might be able to run or walk and average 50, 60 miles a day. I might just do 2 miles a day. The important thing is I get there. That's why the super rich people would never send their children to a school where they have private schools where you do it at your pace. This is a game they play. And so they have to have recess or the thing would blow up.
I'm gonna play it again.
School is a violation of the human. School is a violation of the human spirit. School is a violation of the human spirit. You were not meant to sit in a box and be quiet and be still. And children know that. So they move. That's a violation to do that in school. All of us in this room right now, we can leave here and walk to California. I don't care what kind of medicine you're on. I don't care what kind of condition you're in. The secret is you have to do it at your own pace. The problem is when I'm doing it at somebody else's pace. You might be able to run or walk and average 50, 60 miles a day. I might just do 2 miles a day. The important thing is I get there. That's why the super rich people would never send their children to a school where they have private schools where you do it at your pace. This is a game they play. And so they have to have recess or the thing would blow up.
All right, then we read the comments before I get your thoughts. Run Your Mouth Fresh said, what about the negative effect that an over-involved parent can have? Well, that's from the last topic. Oh, he's saying cap. I guess he's saying cap to the video. And Help the Bear say hell nah. All right, so listen, I'm gonna start with Ruck. I'm gonna just go around the room. We're just gonna see if y'all agree or disagree. To say if y'all agree or disagree, and then we come back around and y'all can explain why. So Ruck, do you agree with the video?
I'm kind of 50-50 because I believe.
So you said 50-50?
Yeah.
You said so what? Go ahead.
Older me would have been a little bit different in regards to the acceptance of that, but this older me I send my kids to private school. Like I got a granddaughter.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. I did right now. Just agree or disagree, and then we get back to this. You said 50-50? All right, let's start with Jessica.
I disagree.
You disagree? All right, Vulcan.
I'm more 50-50. Similar to Rug, and so I can agree with Jessica on that. There's parts I definitely disagree with, but there's some truth to what he's saying as well.
All right, so let's get back to Rucker. Go ahead, explain why you said 50-50. You muted.
Okay, here I go. Due to the fact that, like, old me and understanding what was taught.
Oh, you got background noise. You might have to get in the quiet area so we can hear you better if you get a chance. All right, let's go with Jessica.
So I disagree. He mentioned that the wealthy send their kids to private school because they can work at their own pace or they get it at their own pace. And I went to a private school, and that's actually not the case. Your curriculum was completely, it was overwhelming because they want you to grasp knowledge quicker in order to prepare you for college. So I don't agree with that. And then as far as saying kids don't want to sit still in the classroom because their natural instinct is to get up and move around, I have to ask the question, so why is it that in a classroom of 30, only 2 want to get up and run around, and the rest of the class is okay with sitting and learning from the instructor? So I don't agree with him saying that it violates the human spirit. I think some kids just don't have enough control and discipline.
Okay. All Are you in the quiet area, Rucker? Are you able to? Are you not? Okay. All right, let's get Vulcan in here.
So yeah, I think Jessica brings up a really good point. I think he is overestimating the what private schools are able to do. But I think the bigger point is when he says that we weren't made to do that, we weren't designed to sit down for long periods of time. I don't know what he means by that exactly, but a lot of times if you work a desk job, you're going to spend hours sitting down. That's not our entire life to sit down all the time, but we need to know how to do both. We need to know how to sit down without moving. We know how to move around. Part of the problem in our society today is that we're too sedentary at a certain age. We don't do enough moving around. So my issue with what he's saying is a little too absolute. We need to know how to do both. I think for a lot of people, especially a lot of young African American boys and boys in general, is that we struggle sitting down. We need school to get us to sit down because otherwise we're going to struggle with that in life. A lot of us are diagnosed with ADHD, and I'd agree with Dr. Umar and the rest of them that a lot of us are overly diagnosed, and it's not a real problem just because we can't sit down, but it is a skill. You sitting in church, I done got pinched, I done got popped by grandma and them, so I wasn't sitting still. Mm-hmm. So I would say that he's a little overzealous in that point. Agreed. To Jessica's point, a little overzealous in what he thinks private school will do as well. And I can't remember another point. There's another point I was going to address that he made, but I can't recall it right now. But in short, I just say that I think that he has a good point about learning the pace. I want to address the pace part that he mentions. The reality is this. Even if we were to slow school down so kids can be at their own pace, they still got to go out into the workforce.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually the next question. So you're already.
All right, sorry, go ahead then.
Yeah, so is it better? Is it better for society? Oh, hold on, let me read the comments first. Run Your Mouth Fresh says that style of learning. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about right now, Fresh. That style of learning pace prepares children to interact with the real world as an average person who is held to the production standards of mass employer. All right. Facts Fresh, Help the Bears agreeing. Different ways to learn. Most people are doing exactly what he's talking about now. Due to the pandemic, we will see how that works out for us in a few decades. Also, Help the Bear said the desk, a desk so you can stand up and move around is a thing, for sure. So the question is for the panel: is it better for society? Is it better for society if kids learn at their own pace? Let's start with Jessica.
I'll say yes. And the reason is because naturally there are kids who, are a little bit slower, and this might sound really bad, but those kids could be, there are different skill sets needed for certain jobs. So let's just say a kid that learns at a quicker pace, they could potentially be your doctor, your lawyer, etc. And those who learn at a slower pace can be your bag boy or the person that works at McDonald's. So potentially
we getting canceled.
We are. Sorry.
Run your mouth fresh said not the slow ones. Go ahead. Continue, Justin.
So it could be beneficial because there are jobs that need to be filled. But I think it ultimately depends on the person and their will to succeed and do something more. So
okay.
Yeah, obviously with schools, we're already not going at the fastest pace. That's why they have advanced classes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already not going that fast.
Let's ask another question then. Is the education for the rich much better? What you got, Jessica?
I don't say it's better. I really feel like higher education is BS, but I don't think it's for the better. I think having elite colleges or attending, Ivy League colleges puts you in a certain arena, but I don't think the actual information you receive in class makes the person better or makes them better or anything like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I could agree to a certain degree. I would question. Hold on, let me read. Comments running my fresh says Jessica is right. Somebody has to flip the double patty steroid burgers. Okay, yeah, I wonder because I actually know a principal. He's a principal of a private school. And he told me that. I guess you could say rich people that's able to afford private school. So that's you have to have a certain amount of income to be able to attend those schools. And he said that it's not worth sending your kids to a private elementary school. Is not worth their money. You're better off waiting maybe middle school, high school. You can probably get more for your buck then. So I would say elementary from from what my friend said as a principal is not necessarily better than public school. Well, he did suggest that if you are going to go to a public school, make sure you invest in a house that's in a good area, that high ranking, and those schools are just as good as the private schools. Bring Vulcan back in here. Vulcan, I don't know if you heard the question. The question is the education for the rich that much better?
Well, the difficulty with this question is, we can have a lens more American, which is going to definitely change the flavor of the conversation. But for most of the world, somebody on welfare in America is rich.
Mm-hmm.
Free education is rich. Free lunch is rich.
Oh, compare it to the rest of the world, right?
Free books, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Free books is rich. Free calculators is rich.
Yeah, because in different countries, you have places I've seen on YouTube where in places in Europe and sub-Saharan Africa, they were out with like 5 miles, 10 miles to go to school.
Yeah.
So. It's not many books in that school where they walk into. Go ahead, Vulcan.
So my point is just saying, like, how based on how we're defining the word rich is going to tell us a lot, because we would definitely be rich by most standards. So that being the case, I think it definitely does matter. Now, when you just talk about just the Western world, you compare, the worst school I've ever been to the best school I've been to. There's definitely differences. There's difference in the learning experience, the learning environment, the types of kids that are there with you to distract you, their value systems, what you get made fun of for. Those things are all going to change how you get educated. The quality of the teachers get paid a little bit different, or I know teachers want to work in certain districts, but they don't get to work in certain districts. Teachers that come from that need that have loans get their loans paid for by working in certain districts. So you would imagine these teachers don't come from affluent families, so they have debt. You get a different caliber of teacher depending on so all that stuff does affect the quality of education.
And I guess to answer one of the questions I asked earlier, as far as is it better to work at our own pace? I didn't get a chance to answer. I would say no. This is, especially here in this capitalist society, the strongest, the smartest, the competent usually wins the race. So I think it's best to try to compete. If you're doing it at your own pace, you're not actually competing. The more you're able to compete, the better chance you have in your best self come out in those situations. Yeah,
I just want to quote one of my favorite American scholars, and he was saying that when he first got to Harvard, I think he had a roommate, and so this guy was good enough to get into Harvard, right? And his roommate saw him, you know, studying and doing his thing, and he was like, "Hey, look, man, if you continue to be like that, you won't make it here."
Yeah.
So that guy stepped up his game when it comes to how he approaches education and the pace that he was going to go, and he became one of the greatest scholars in American history. But the thing is that he attributes his success to that other student saying that pace won't work here.
See, so that's what I have to say. It's not just competence; it's actually work ethic. Work ethic has a lot to do with it. So, working, being more efficient.
We're not on the same competency level. So one kid may not have to study at all when he goes home. One kid may have to put in some hours.
Then you just froze it. You want to add anything, Jessica?
I don't. I agree with the points.
Definitely. Let me read the comment. Says Run Your Mouth Fresh said the best education is the one that prepares us for the future that fits. Rich people send their kids to better schools and still get mixed bag of hard work, success stories, and lazy cokeheads.
Ooh, not the cokeheads.
Help the Bear said facts. There's no rule book to this game called life. It's somewhat a roll of dice. I want you to kind of elaborate on that. Right, Vulcan, we're talking about practice, and some people need to definitely take their butt to practice. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, not everybody on the same level as competence. One thing that you can count on is your hard work, and you can definitely accomplish those things. You got anything you want to say else to Vulcan?
No, I don't have anything else to say. I'm ready to move on.
Oh, definitely. So let's get into this. What's that? Hold on for a minute. All right, so y'all see. All right, so Minister Farrakhan used, this is the topic he used. This, I'm just quoting him right now. The USA should not judge other nations. So I'm gonna play a video that's related. Well, actually, I got the quote for him, and I'll get y'all thoughts on that. All right.
Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hands. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one.
Oh.
I'm living in one. Yes. You've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation.
Nigeria,
Strong statements. So, like I said, that's the topic. It's a lot of other stuff he said. I just want to get y'all thoughts on the video in general, and then we can get into the questions. I do want to ask this because one of the questions I want to ask the panel is, do y'all agree with this video? Yeah, let me start with Vulcan, then Jessica. All right, what you got, Vulcan? You muted, Vulcan. This is
Your question is, do I agree with them?
Yeah, do you agree with Farrakhan, really? Do you agree with Farrakhan's statements?
Yeah, he had some points that I would agree. He mentioned timelines, how long things have been in existence. That stuff's true. I agree with his overall point, no.
Okay. All right, Justin?
Same, I agree with some of the points. I think his response was completely emotional. And because it came from a white man and you are pointing out an African nation or, who he probably descended from. So he took it very, very personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as I agree with Vulcan, as far as the timeline, it does take longer for a nation to really build and be sufficient. And hopefully they're able to, manage their resources, what I think Nigeria was accused of not doing. I'm going to start off why I don't disagree. I'll start off with me and then we'll go back around. Just to remind the viewers, this is a critical thinking show. My antennas went up when he said that, I forgot the interviewer name, he said you cannot judge the country because there's so much blood on American hands. That's called the genetic fallacy. I want to make sure I get that up. Make sure I state that. To tell somebody they can't make a statement or opinion or give a judgment because of their origin is a fallacy. And I think that was a bad argument Farrakhan used. I'm going to go ahead with I'm asking another question. How about we do this? Which country affords a better quality of life? Start with Vulcan.
Out of America and Nigeria, it's not close. It's definitely going to be America.
Yeah, I think Nigerian Americans would agree.
For sure.
All right. So yeah, I agree. I say this. I think that's the reason why. All right. So let me ask this question to y'all: why is Mr. Farrakhan so critical of America, and is he being fair? Jessica?
Skip me, please.
All right, Vulcan.
He's Nation of Islam. Their beliefs is that white people were made in a lab by a mad black scientist. So anything white has to be wrong. Mm-hmm. Anything black has to be right or at least excusable. So he's definitely not being fair, as Help the Bear pointed out in the comments. He's guilty of the genetic fallacy. Genetic fallacy is when you disqualify a belief or perspective based off of where it comes from and not based off of its own merit, whether it's true based off its own self. So when he says America is not in a moral position to be able to judge other places, once you get into that game of who can judge who based off some arbitrary rubric that we have in our heads of who's allowed to judge somebody, nobody can judge anybody. And everybody's judging everybody for judging people. It just ends up being chaos. So you can't base it off that. If somebody wants to judge something, the question is, are they judging it righteously? Is their judgment fair? Is it balanced? Are they filtering out their biases? So that's the issue with that, right? So it's a real shift. And what's interesting Farrakhan's doing is, it's almost like he's accusing the interview of doing it. Then he mentions America.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell. He does a really good job of kind of mixing it together. But the reality is that he lives in America. I'm sure he'd prefer to live in America, just like he's a descendant of Africa, potentially, as Jessica pointed out. And the white man's a descendant of, I guess, America or some European place before that. The reality is that that white guy would prefer to be here in America. And that's probably why he's there. So saying that we shouldn't judge, oh yeah, he said you think of a more corrupt place than that, and he says I'm living in one. Now, do you really think the affluent minister Louis Farrakhan would live in a more corrupt place than Nigeria? Of course not. Was you that told me that he lived in like the same neighborhood as some high officials in our government?
Yeah. Farrakhan, the headquarters, I believe, is in Chicago. He lived down there in Chicago. He lived down the street from Barack Obama. Barack Obama before he was president. Wealthy neighborhood in Chicago. Lived there for years. So yeah, that's what Farrakhan.
Now, you think in Nigeria you can be critical of the government and live down the street from the leader of the government? Of course not.
No, not at all. Not at all. Made a good living.
So to say it's more corrupt, given his track record, and again, I'm a fan of Farrakhan. I'm not saying this thing in a way to disparage him. I'm just saying we got to call a spade a spade. I can't go to China as a Chinese person or a black person, talk about the Chinese government and think everything's going to be cool. Mm-hmm. Farrakhan has made a career of being critical, rightly at times, mind you, but still being critical of the government. And nobody's touched him.
For years. And his mentor too, Elijah Muhammad. Lived a wealthy life. Nothing happened to him. That was back early 1930s, 1940s. Yeah.
So this goes to like the danger. The reason why this is important to me, because people hear the rhetoric of guys like this and the sophistry, and they think that America sucks. And there's some things about America that does suck. Mm-hmm. Make no mistake about that. But the thing is, relative to other places, and that's what it really is. I always liken this stuff to people that talk about, I want my lady or my man to be this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. I
think his service went out, but to compare to you want to chime in? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it makes you ask the question: if you feel so strongly that America is corrupt, then why are you still here? And so then I think he likes to play both sides of the coin. You want to preach and say that yes, America is corrupt, but on the other side of that, you get to be very critical, and that criticism has put you on a pedestal, and now you're wealthy because of your criticism. So it's like you're playing both sides, and you get to win pretty much on both of them. So.
Well, that's the benefits of the Western society. That's the benefits. Democracy, freedom of speech, capitalism.
Yeah.
So freedom of speech, you can say what you want and actually get rich off the critiques you have of this government. So that's Farrakhan is definitely an example of that. And so him saying living the corrupt, like I said, definitely have some corrupt things that happened in the past, but to compare to other countries, you don't see typically, because a lot of people in this country have harsh criticism towards our capitalist society, but you don't see people trying to escape or run from a capitalist society to a communist country, a communist society. You don't see people rushing to go to third world countries. It's usually the opposite. People from third world or communist countries are trying to get here.
Exactly.
So that's one thing I always wondered about Farrakhan. That's Vulcan. I always wonder that about Farrakhan or the people that's listening to him.
Mhm.
Is he? Is he?
And he's not the only one. If,
Yeah.
that does it. A lot of the prominent Black figures, El Sharpton, they all are doing it. You ask.
Yeah, because a lot of those people that's in that community, I guess you could say the woke community, the conscious community, which I'm a fan of. I definitely believe they have some good points.
Mm-hmm.
I believe is rooted in Marxism. So it's that binary thinking. There's only two classes: the rich and the powerful, and the poor.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's the game I think they play. Let me get back to these comments. Uh, let me see. It's a kind of okay. Say it's a kind of ad hominem. Also, ladies. Yeah, yeah, he did. I think he did this. He did that in the video. Yeah, good one. Good one. Run your mouth fresh. Good one. Another fallacy. Special pleading fallacy. Matter of fact, let me chaotic link. Okay, out of Truth Live. Send the link. All right, no problem. I'll send you the link. Let's see if Vulcan can see you. All right, so like again, one of our reasons we make it a habit to analyze a lot of argumentation and try to decipher and help our listeners to able to identify what's a good argument versus a bad argument. That's why we watch a lot of these reaction videos. And special pleading is a fallacious tool. And I'm gonna read it. It says applying standards and principles and / rules to other people or circumstances while making oneself or certain circumstances exempt from the same critical criteria. Without providing adequate justification, special plead is often a result of strong emotional beliefs that interferes with reasoning. Yes, that's definitely what Farrakhan did in that bit.
Bars.
Good one, Fresh. Good one.
I would have my spirit fingers up.
All right. Before you was the video shut off while in the middle of your talking. In the middle while you was talking, do you want to finish or?
No, it's okay. I see
All
somebody in the comments of the link. Did we send them the link or?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that right now. So I'm gonna play the next video. I'm gonna try to get what's his name in the comments. Let me see this. All right. All right, so here we go, y'all.
Maybe we can still heal you. Why? So you could just lock me up? No. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
All right. All right. Start off with Jessica. Do you agree with the clip?
I don't know that movie.
the biggest movie in the last for our culture.
Just kidding. So yes, I agree with the quote, the statement. Yeah.
You agree? Okay. All right. I disagree, and I'm gonna go to Vulcan. Agree or
Well,
disagree?
what's the word on chaotic truth getting the link?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now as we speak.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, for me, my perspective on there, I definitely disagree with that quote.
And before we go further, can I'm gonna retract it. I disagree as well, and I thought about it. Didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I said you want to explain why? Why you disagree?
Because even with bondage, at some point you can be free, hopefully. And if you essentially, terminate yourself, or I don't know if kill is a good word that I can use on a podcast, but if there's no coming back from that. You never get another chance to do anything further. So yeah, I would rather try my hand at bondage with hope that at some point I'll be free.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Jessica. It says a lot about a leader because you remember how the movie he was trying to lead the nation. It says a lot about a person who want to lead or have the desire to lead a group of people, and then once they face adversity, he just wants to just wants to give up. That says a lot about a person's character. So yeah, I definitely disagree. Well, go ahead, Vulcan. You mute.
Sorry,
hold on. Before, I'm sorry. Well, let me just get these comments in. I don't know. I don't know. I could kill myself, or well, but maybe it's the Christian in me. All right, up the bear. You win some, you lose some, but you live. You live to fight another day. Famous quote for our Urban Flicks Friday. Shout out to Pops. All right.
Shout out to Pops. Shout out to Weatherspoon.
Really, rest in peace. I want to make a point because that's related to what we're talking about. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's wrong on so many levels. We can do it from the movie perspective. We can just do it in general. From the movie perspective, this was a guy who tried to overthrow the world basically through force, and he admitted that I killed, I pillaged, I did everything I could to get to this point right here. This guy who used every evil tactic you can to get to the point of to rule, to take rulership by coercion and force. So when he says I'd rather bury my ancestors, you're not even worthy of that type of burial, because what you did was evil to get where you were. You were even trying to kill your own family. And so, it's not noble of you to just die as opposed to being in bondage. You deserve to be in bondage for what you've done. So that part to me makes no sense. But even when you take it in the broader sense, when you think about the Africans who were coming over here as slaves, there's a lot of trouble parts to this for me. One of them being, if you were brought over here on slavery and you got your friends and your cousins, your family with you, your kids, your wife, whoever it is that's on this ship with you, am I going to go, commit suicide into the, delete myself into the ocean? Or am I going to stay and try to at least attempt to fight with my family? If deleting yourself was better than bondage, why is the death penalty a penalty that we rarely use? Why is that most people would opt to live a life in bondage as opposed to deleting themselves or having the state delete you? I think we all intuitively know that bondage is better than death. And that's why we do it.
Hey, what's up, Chaotic Truth? Welcome to Vulcan Soapbox.
What's going on?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Man,
well.
Excellent.
Okay.
Your hat's so pretty.
You said what?
Your hat is so pretty.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I was perusing through YouTube. Normally, occasionally I'll go looking for panels to hop on, and I saw Vulcan, and I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys are talking about, and I hate to disrupt the flow, but as an avid Star Trek fan for all my life,
we can still hear you.
Yeah, I thought that maybe the name had something to do with Star Trek, maybe, but but what's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Definitely.
Going on, man. Thanks for joining.
I'm all right, man.
Matter of fact, let me play the video since you just came on. We're gonna play the video again and get your thoughts on this. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Maybe we can still heal you. Why? So you can just lock me up? No. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
All right, man. So you came in a little late. We was asking the panel, man, do they agree with this? What's your thoughts on it? Do you agree with what he said in the movie?
No, I don't.
So, all right.
I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that our history has been tampered with and manipulated. I believe that the whole story of the transatlantic slave trade is wildly over-exaggerated. And I really believe that large numbers of Africans willingly came over to America, man, to be honest, on those boats. And I'm going to tell you why. I got to say this, man, but if we just look at today's atmosphere with how African people are, people in the diaspora, we willingly buy their clothes, we buy their cars, we boast and brag about working for their institutions, and who's to say that our ancient ancestors didn't willingly? They saw these people, and these people probably came there, and they probably didn't. You know, even to this day, blacks don't like being around other blacks, and who's to say that those Africans didn't want to? Hey, I'd rather just go with these pale people to this new world where they have certain freedoms, man. And so my answer is no. I don't believe that. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong, and everything we're taught is true in school. But I think that there's so many plausibility. I mean, there's so many not ideas, but what's the word I'm looking for? Jesus Christ, late at night. There's a multiplicity of things that could have happened back then, and we don't know. You know, they say that the many African tribes were slavers anyway, and it's very likely that they were participating in the slave trade amongst themselves.
Correct.
The Arabs had already been slavers anyway, and human beings, for the most part, for human history, according to my knowledge, according to what they're telling us, participated in the slave trade. The Romans, the Greeks, so the Egyptians, they have pictures of them beating niggas. You know, they got on the hieroglyphs. So, I mean, when I see stuff like that, I just see it as a movie. You know, it's a nice movie. I'll admit. I got into the Marvel Cinematic Universe because of Thanos, but I like the Black Panther movie as well. But I look at that as something that is trying to further trick us into believing that the black man was just downtrodden. I really believe that slavery may have been a net positive for the black man, to be honest with you. That's just me. That's just me. That's just me.
All right, so let me get these comments.
My opinion. It's just my opinion. Go ahead.
Hold on, Jessica. We get these comments in. Help the Bear says, I think this is towards Vulcan. Not a good analogy. Crime versus slavery or bondage is different. I want you to respond to that. Let me read the rest of the comments. Portia says, y'all all Dell. What is Help the Bear say? Oh, heck. Get this man out of here. What he said with that slavery wasn't real talk. Dr. Umar would be appalled. Can
I address that one real quick? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Dr. Umar.
Hold on, let me finish. I got one more. Got two more. Portia says, y'all from Texas? And another question from Portia said, Juneteenth is a Texas thing. LOL. Yeah, for sure. Historically been a Texas thing. I'm gonna get Vulcan to you the guest. Go ahead and respond to
that last comment.
He said, "Oh heck, nah, get this man out of here."
Listen, Help the Bear. Listen, Dr. Umar is full of shit. Can I curse over here, or do you?
No, that's Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Oh, okay.
PG-13.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna. Okay. I think Dr. Umar is one of the greatest race hustlers of all time. There are over 60 plus black African nations on the planet where black men are ruling that look like you, me, and the gentleman right here to the right of the screen. Now here goes my thing. I get it, bro. I get it. I get all the black pride. But why don't you practice black supremacy and black pride in already established black nation states? It's 60 nations on the 60. The problem with Dr. Umar is he's like any other Negro. He's begging the white man for acceptance. He's begging the white man to give him money instead of doing for self, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Minister Louis Farrakhan have been preaching for 100 years with Elijah Muhammad and 70 years with the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. You could even argue Marcus Garvey preached this. There are a lot of black men who had self-pride prior to during the Jim Crow era. I don't care about eating at no white man's restaurant. I don't care about doing this. The problem with Dr. Umar is that I don't care if he's appalled. He needs to go to Africa. He needs to go to Liberia, Ghana. If he believes in all this black supremacy, he needs to get into politics. He needs to get into institutions over in Africa. But I love the white man's country. I love the white man's systems and institutions. And the fact of the matter is that I don't believe that Dr. Umar, like most pro-blacks, have the intelligence to run infrastructure and to run systems. Now, I really believe it, man. I really believe it. If it wasn't for the white man, we wouldn't have a toilet. And the fact of the matter is that I don't believe Dr. Umar. If you just look at anywhere where blacks take over, man, we destroy it, unfortunately, because it's the little things, man. Even things like littering. You can't even get black men to stop littering. I see Negroes, and rarely when I go to the hood, you drive down the street, you'll see a bag fly out the car. Negroes don't have a concept of recycling. Negroes don't have a concept of just manufacturing a water bottle. You don't hey, bro, hey, no. I was in college one time years ago, 21 years ago. And my homeboy, he was big into the environment. And another friend of mine, who was an acquaintance of my friend, he was like, man, why you littering, man? What kind of nigga litter? I mean, what kind of nigga recycle? And we looking at him like, what? The Negro didn't understand how society works. We recycle so we can continue the water bottling process. You wouldn't have highlighters without it. You wouldn't have remote controls if you didn't recycle, if you just threw things on the ground. And if you go anywhere where blacks are, this is the Dr. Umar. I'm talking about Dr. Umar. Just a little thing.
Hold on. Let me get those.
Sorry about that.
Got some other comments with Umar. It says Umar is 50, still renting. Who cares what he thinks? Heather Bear said, we don't want to hear you. You need more people, brother. That's that. I forgot what is that. Portia said, long shot beats. Help the Bear said, renting is not a bad thing, buddy. Most people died and never paid that 30-year mortgage off. Better arguments, please. Yeah, I would just give you some pushback. I think I'm going to get Jessica in here because we haven't heard from you. And then we'll get back to questions. I think there could be probably a classism thing. Certainly, we go to different hoods in America. Definitely a lot of people are littering. But you go to poor places in America with just whites, you have the same thing. So I would argue it's probably just a class thing, not mainly a race thing. All right, let me ask a question to you. I'm gonna get you first, Chaotic, and then I'm gonna ask.
Go ahead, sir.
So why like we was talking about earlier, as far as when Killmonger in that movie, he said, "Bury me with my ancestors." Let me ask you, Chaotic, why do black people appreciate this quote so much?
Okay. I believe that black people appreciate that quote because black people love being victims. I think that black people, they have made themselves believe that they have gone through atrocities, which they probably did not. And I think that quote resonates with the people with a victim mindset. Bury me in the ocean where my ancestors are. Come on, man. Come on. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that there are millions of Africans in the ocean. I just don't. I don't even believe that the slave trade even. I don't even believe that the slave trade even existed at that scale. They're lying to us, in my opinion. So I think a lot of black people, they've been brainwashed to believe that they have this epic struggle, and I just don't believe it. That's just me, though. My opinion. Just my opinion.
All right, we'll go with Vulcan.
And the question again was what?
All right, I'm reading the question, read the comments. It said, but Umar did get all those donations. He could have at least got a place to live since he didn't build that school. LOL. Shout out to Portia. All right, the question is, uh, why do black? Oh, why isn't that showing? Oh, okay, we're go. Something I'm doing. All right, so the question is, Vulcan, why do black people appreciate this quote?
I would say something similar to what Chaotic said. I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that we do see ourselves from a place of being in bondage. We're very anti-establishment and anti-government, anti-capitalism. We feel like it, and that being the case, I think there's we resonate with that message. We resonate with the a lot of times with the villain, and Killmonger was the villain in that story. And his message, it's a virtue signaling in a major way, because obviously this guy is the antagonist of the movie, and he's redeemed at the end, not because he changed his ways. He gets redeemed at the end with the simple quote of "Bury me with my ancestors who thought that bondage was better, was worse than death." Sorry, death was better than bondage. But if he'd have been put in bondage, it'd have been because of the stuff he had done. So it made no sense. So yeah, I would say that I think we identify with that because we tend to identify with the villain. A quick little example: I remember sometimes I'd watch movies like Set It Off and different movies with, and this applies to just movies across the board, not just black movies, but something special within the black community is our adoration of the villain, the one who sticks it to the man. And so you see that in the movie Set It Off. You watching the movie Set It Off with Queen Latifah and them, and we want them to get away. We want them to get away with the crime. And again, that's in all of us, not just African American people, but it's especially in us. In our hip hop music, we're very anti-establishment. We're very much stick it to the man. Get it how you live. What do we say? Get it how you live.
Good. Let me ask you another question. Does this quote benefit black progress? Portia said that Set Off was a great movie. I disagree. But yeah, so Chaotic, man, do you think this quote benefit black progress?
No.
All right, so let's go to Vulcan, then I have you explain why Chaotic. Does it Vulcan, does this quote benefit black progress? You muted. I don't know if it's froze. So. You muted, Vulcan.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, does that quote benefit?
No, it doesn't.
All right, so Chaotic, go ahead. Yeah, something else you want to add, Vulcan?
I was going to address the comments about the quote. I do think Set It Off is a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think it's a good movie. The only point I'm making is that I just tell people to be the caution that they need to have whenever they're watching movies or watching real life, and identify who the real villain is versus who the real hero is. So when they're robbing the bank, the real heroes was the cops that were there to stop them from doing it, not them who were robbing the bank. But these multi-millionaire directors and writers want us to believe it's Queen Latifah now.
Portia say, that's a good movie. Stop the cap. Help the Bell say LOL. Portia said, I appreciate the slideshow. All right, Chaotic, you want to add something?
Yeah, to answer the question, the answer is no. This answer does not benefit black people. The only thing that benefits black people is build inward build. Build inward build. That's the only thing that that's the only quote that the black man needs to hear. Bury me in the ocean where my aunt, man, get out of here. Nah, I don't believe in stuff. Negroes need to learn how to do infrastructure, systems. And man, if the white man were to lead this planet, man, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare situation for blacks. Build inward, build. That's the only quote that Negroes need to know, man.
Are you saying inward, like in, or you said inward? We got to build inside. Inward.
No. You said I can't curse, right? So I don't want to use the N. I'm talking about the actual N word.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm being respectful. Yeah. Got to build, man. That's the only thing. You know.
Yeah, I agree. That's that's what Umar is doing. He's building schools. So we got some good examples of some brothers leading that cause. You agree?
No.
He's building a school. That's the infrastructure. It's a school. It's an institution.
Dr. Umar is a scam. He's a scam artist, man. The umpth degree. The Negroes in Delaware, if I'm not mistaken. Delaware. He's in, of all places, Delaware.
Well, to be fair, if he was a scam artist, to be fair, GoFundMe, if you are scamming, you could get charged for fraud for that.
That is true.
He hasn't been charged for fraud, so we have to, give him his.
That is true. That is true. But Dr. Umar, man, the problem that I have with him is he's preaching this pro-blackity black nonsense. And I gotta say this, man. The Negro doesn't really understand the world. Now, it took him 10 years to do this school, but so what? So what, man? Negroes need to be out in the field working. They need to figure out, they need to work. He's talking about some mystical African ideology that has no practicality in reality. The fact of the matter is that let's use something as simple as the textile industry. How many Negroes know how to just make clothing? We've been brainwashed to look at cotton like it's bad. Like, let's say the white man, he just left the planet. The Asian left the planet. You think Negroes are going to go to the cotton fields and pick cotton at the lowest levels, or even know how to make the machinery to get the cotton just to make the shirts or make the clothing for ourselves? We got to think about these things, man. So when Umar gets to talking, yeah, that's cool, Negro. You opened a school. It took you 10 years. You were begging, that's fine. But what are you really teaching here, brother? What are you really teaching? You ain't teaching industry to those kids. You teaching them kids how to beat on. Look, I taught at a little black charter school in Enos. In the morning, they had the kids doing these stupid rituals, beating on drums. I'm like, what? The kids didn't know math. They didn't know science. I started an engineering program, and at every opportunity, the black staff there undermined me because they were too focused on nonsense. And so Dr. Umar, he's doing the same thing, man. Same.
You got some pushback in the comments. It says, but we built Black Wall Street, chaotic, and we built the cotton gin.
Portia, I'm sorry. Portia, you blacks, the only thing you did in Tulsa, you had one-story wooden buildings and you had beauty salons. You Negroes act like Tulsa was skyscrapers, man. Come on, man. You act like you Negroes were doing rocket science or something. We gotta stop lying to ourselves, because that's the first way. That's the first way to really free the mind. Just stop lying. I think, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, Enos. Man, the one thing that I was always a deep thinker. Man, when I did mushrooms, man, I really got introspection into the universe. Negroes don't understand how this world works. Now here goes Portia. She talking about blacks built Wall Street. Come on now. Wall Street didn't have no goddamn Wall Street didn't have no skyscrapers. Wall Street didn't have no oil rigs. The Negroes just had like little businesses, little law office with one person working there. Like a Negro, he may have had like a little dentist, little dental shop. That's fine. That's cool. That's fine. I'm not knocking that, but we got to stop lying to ourselves like we were doing something on a grand scale.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's hold on.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we definitely got to cover this because it's a lot of things we got to cover because I don't believe it was any really a lot of skyscrapers when Black Wall Street was built. So yeah, we got to definitely invite you back so we can have.
There were a lot of. I'm sorry, what's he done?
Yeah.
There were a lot of skyscrapers at the time. Listen. The white man had even styles of skyscrapers. He had Art Deco. Are you familiar with Art Deco? That style.
Mm-hmm.
ART.
Well, if they did, hold on. Let me read the comments. Nas 4115 said Portia got her trolling PhD from CT,
right?
But CT was black infrastructure. Oh, okay, it was black infrastructure. It's a grand scale to those blacks in Oklahoma, sir. I just say this. Listen, yeah, of course, technologically advanced. The Western world was more advanced than certain places in Africa, mainly the Sub-Saharan. Can't really say some of the Western African places definitely was advanced in certain countries. But the advantage that Europe had over all the countries, Europe was definitely a peninsula. So they was able to get different type of trades and different information and technology with all areas of the world, whether it was Africa, China, Asia, really. So they was able to have an advantage over other countries. So that's why one of the main reasons why they was advanced more than all of the African countries. But hey, like to thank you for coming in.
Thank you, bro.
I'm definitely gonna get your information. You want to share, any social media and before we head out?
Man, I'm on YouTube, Chaotic Truth Live, LIVE, Chaotic Truth Live. You about to end the show, dear brother?
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for definitely joining us. Like I said, you came in. This is Vulcan. We try to analyze and use a little as motion as possible when we are covering and analyzing a lot of these videos that we are talking about. So, yeah, this is a show to help us think more accurately and definitely, the more we can call out bad arguments versus good arguments, we can actually bring a lot of solace to our brains because this could help us definitely think better, man. So I want to appreciate the guests we had. Shout out to Chaotic, shout out to Jessica, shout out to Freshly, shout out to Rucker. Definitely, man. Peace. Yeah.